This is a glimpse into my life. Life with Eric.
Eric's here.
And I'm Kiley.
And I'm Eric.
Okay, I think we know who you are.
Oh.
Okay, so do you think you're funny, honey?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do.
Yes, I know you do. Do you think that you could head up your own personal comedy show?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, at least you know that.
I need you.
I thank you.
Yeah, the only reason I'm funny is because of you.
I appreciate that you acknowledge that.
But today, I'm going to be funny because of another guy. We have a guest today.
You're going to be funny? Okay.
We have Aaron Foster, comedian and actor, in the house today. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yep.
He's a legit comedian.
I know. I was telling you before we got on the air here that I've been dying to have a comedian on because, it'd be fun to have some banter and that kind of thing. I mean, Kiley's pretty funny, but I'm sure you're funny.
I was not under the impression I would be required to banter, but I will do my best. We'll see what happens.
It's a natural banter.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much all we no one ever can describe what we do, and we call it what's your podcast about? And we go, husband and wife banter.
No, I listened to a couple of episodes. That sounds right. Yeah,
Oh, it's a good
I'm on board with that.
description.
Yeah,
Right.
well, she makes fun of me,
Right.
and then I take it.
You try to defend yourself sometimes.
Right. So, how is it being a comedian?
Right.
That's a good question. How is it? Sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes it's not so amazing.
I have a question. How'd you get into comedy? Because everyone thinks that they can be a comic. I think everybody.
Yeah, including me.
And then you're like, yeah, I could just stand up and do it, but it doesn't work that way.
Not very often.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are people that are the exception to that rule, but I have seen people who are hilarious at parties and things like that, and tell great stories, go up and not do so great at a comedy club. I fell in love with comedy as a kid. I grew up with it. There was a show in the 80s, A&E's Evening at the Improv.
Mm-hmm. I know that one.
I don't know how often it was
old people
on.
will know that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Kiley won't know that.
Like I said, the 80s, and I mean, I've seen all those episodes a million times, and it's, every once in a while, certainly there's comics that you would know today, but most of them sort of, not household names these days. And there's something about, I think, the power of one person on stage in total control, hopefully. And I really love, there's no editor, there's no post-production, there's no waiting around. It's just sort of a very immediate, and no one's approving. Well, the crowd is either approving or not. You can say whatever you want. You don't have to run it by, HR or.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. How much preparation do you put into this?
I do a lot because I am terrified of failing. And
understandable.
Try to craft the perfect. There's no such thing. But to me, I'm not a crowd work guy. The perfect set for me is I have these 5-10 minutes, hour of material. I would like to say these words in this order with this intonation and inflection, and hopefully you will laugh. If you don't, hopefully you all don't get involved.
Right.
That's how I'm and I think it could be an age thing too. I like being over prepped and over prepared because I feel that to be over prepped gives you less nerves.
It does for me, certainly, being over prepared, and then certainly having material that I have confidence in, that I write with a group of people. So that's
nice.
That's a huge help. That are other established comics and things like that. So that's a huge help when you go in knowing that people you like and trust think you have good material, and gives you a little bit of a buffer. Sometimes if it doesn't work, you can kind of fall back on these other people thought it was funny. Maybe it's,
Yeah, right.
Maybe
You can
this
only get
crowd
away with
just
that so
sucks.
many
You
times.
hear
You hear people, someone a real big guy like Chris Rock goes in and he'll go to small clubs to try out some material and sometimes it'll be crickets. No one's really laughing.
Yeah.
Well, is this Chris Rock? I can't believe it. And he doesn't even care. He just goes through it and see if the jokes land or not and walks away. But I mean, I think a lot of comics do that, right?
It's very common. And I think a lot of people don't realize when you see a special, an hour special of anybody, that's generally material that somebody's worked on for a year, if not 2, if not 3.
Yeah.
And probably 4 or 5 nights a week, if not more. It's very, very honed. Down to the word for some comics. Other comics are a little bit more kind of on the fly, but a special certainly I don't think
I would
outside of
assume
a
that,
crowd work special, which of course is now a thing.
Yeah. Isn't it weird?
It is a thing now.
It is a thing
yeah.
now because I see it all over the internet, especially, do you watch Kill Tony ever at all? You see that show?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's all crowd stuff, you know?
Well,
and
the
it's
crowd
crazy.
work, has come about, I think, in large part because social media. You have to be present on social media. You have to have a following. That's what
we suck at
clubs.
that.
Anytime you submit to a club, it's like how many followers do you have? Like, we hope you're funny, but if you have 10 million followers, we don't care that much.
We don't care, just get on stage,
And comedians don't. Writing material's hard. It takes a long time. So if you post your joke all your jokes on social media, and then you go to a club, and then people are like, "I saw
heard all this."
Oh,
Yeah.
good
So
point.
that's
Good point.
that's the value of crowd work, which is it's fairly disposable.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you have any
a
part
good
of your
point.
act where you do crowd work, or if someone just interjects, you might say something back to them?
I mean, there's definitely times when it's sort of unavoidable.
Yeah.
Whether it's a heckle or a lot of times people will just kind of say something or have a reaction out of whether it's agreement or surprise, anything that everybody kind of hears, you do sort of need to address for the most part, even if it's just even if it's just kind of acknowledgement of, oh, that's so true. No, thanks.
Yeah,
And
right.
anyway, when I,
Or they're pointing at their husband, he does that, or whatever, you know?
yeah. But I mean, the whole, if you get the, you suck, like, I mean, you have to deal with that, but that's not something I've had a ton of experience with.
That's great.
No one's
I'm
throwing
like,
a tomato at you or
geez.
anything?
I don't think that's
Not
a thing anymore.
so far. But
Like you're getting the
there's,
tomato
there's,
in.
there's always moments and shows that, I mean, a lot of my material is about depression, is about anxiety, is about mental health. And so that's not always what people want to hear
You wouldn't
at
expect
Thursday
that
night
at a
at 9
comedy
o'clock
show.
on a comedy show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's funny, and some people seem to really like it, but
I think nowadays people can relate
I was
to
going to
that
say, I would
big
think
time.
it'd be relatable.
I mean, it's definitely become, there are big comics that are talking about that stuff, and some of my favorites, Maria Bamford has talked about that for a long time, and Gary Goldman just had a special a couple years ago called The Great Depression, which is one of my favorite things. Neil Brennan, of course, has talked about that for a couple specials, and his last special, what is it called? Good, Crazy Good. I mean, he opens it saying, "Hey, if you're here to hear about how sad and depressed I am, I got bad news for you. Like, I'm feeling pretty good."
I'm good tonight.
Because that's what he
That's
became
his
known
norm,
for.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, let's play a clippy. I got a clip
Speaking
on
of
that
that.
line right now.
Sure.
Yeah, the antidepressants didn't work for me, so I do CBT, I do EMDR, and I've also recently been thinking about maybe doing some ECT. And if you don't know what any of those letters stand for, aren't you having a nice goddamn life? Good for you.
I think that one get big laughs.
Yeah, the
because
antidepressants didn't work for me.
people can
so
relate
I
to that,
do,
though.
Right.
I don't know exactly what all those letters are, but I know a
CBT, I
couple
do
of them. But
EMDR,
Kylie's a marriage and family
I also
therapist.
I have a master's in
Yeah,
marriage
so
and family
she-
therapy.
So you know what it all
And
stands
I
I
don't know
do.
what
Yeah.
those letters stand for.
I get
Aren't you having
like
a nice
actor's
goddamn
depression
life?
all the time. I call it actor's depression. You
I mean, I think that's redundant.
you
Really.
just get in
Good for you.
Depression, right? I mean,
Just get in a funk.
It's a rough life. Yeah, it's a lot of rejection, and I really struggled with it when I used to live in LA, and you have some success and then you don't, and it's hard to. I don't know. I'm really hard on myself, and then you're there 5 years, and you're like, this is what I'm auditioning for, this student film that I also didn't get.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, that's what that auditioning process is just brutal. I was the other day. I probably did 6 to 8 auditions.
Well, last week he was depressed because he wasn't getting auditions. This week he was depressed because there was just too many and it was an overload.
Yeah, I got 4, and then I did them, and I go, they all
I can't
suck.
do this.
They all suck.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I was all happy because I booked a gig.
Yeah.
And I go,
It's a roller
I
coaster.
don't remember doing that audition. It's like, so it goes like that. So
Well,
I'm happy now. I was depressed 2 days ago.
Yeah, you gotta sort of try to bookmark those wins. I have a few shows that I've done over the last couple of years that have been really good. That it's like, all right, I
Don't forget.
gotta remember that, because next week or tomorrow, when it doesn't go well, you need to remember those high watermarks.
It's true.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'll do a scene in an acting class sometimes, and it won't go so good, and then the next week you put it up again. You put in the work. You put in extra work, and you put in the work, and you make sure you kill it, and then you usually do.
Yeah, I mean, I acting is such a. I used to be terrified about sort of that I would like if I would get like a real thing, like a real part. Like I auditioned for Desperate Housewives way back in the day.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it was kind of like a friend of a friend who sort of did me a favor,
Yeah.
but it was like it was
Hey.
in my casting. Like I
Yeah.
could have got the part, but it was by far the biggest thing I'd ever auditioned for. And
Right.
I absolutely the worst audition I've ever
Right,
done in my
yeah,
life. I
I've
was
been there.
nervous. I was uncomfortable, but I think part of me was a little bit nervous that I would get the part, because then you're like,
Then
you're going to
what?
go
Like,
on the
I have to go
ABC
in this-
lot,
Yeah.
and this is real people.
Professional actors.
And I had this
eyeballs on
fear
it.
I'm
that
not
they would
good
just be
enough, yeah.
like, cut, what the hell's that guy doing?
Yeah. Who
Which is
did-
like not
where
true.
Did you pull them off
Yeah.
the street?
Right?
Yeah.
They'd just be like, all right, let's do it again.
Yeah.
You know, they just do a couple takes.
Whenever I first went on a big like movie set or whatever, I was like, is there lingo that I don't know? Is there gonna do like you gotta do some special take that I don't know?
Right.
You know, or is the close up that I don't know? You know, it's like, and it's all what we do. It's not a big deal, but
Yeah.
you know, you think it is though.
Well, you put it on a different pedestal than other jobs that you've done. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
student
bigger
film
and,
or whatever,
it's,
yeah.
it's different, but it's mostly different in that it takes an hour and a half to set up the lights than anything that happens between action and cut.
Right.
You know?
Right. What do you prefer, comic on stage or acting?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm happy to do either. To be honest, anytime anybody lets me do either, I'm
You'll take
all
it.
for it. You know.
Either or. It's not a bigger
Yeah.
thrill to say, hey, I got a role now. I'm going to prep for that role.
I mean, that's a thrill, but you know, that doesn't. You know, my acting career is, as far as that goes, TV and film is fairly limited. I've done a handful of shorts. I've done a couple features. My second feature that just came out on Tubi today. It was shot in Reno back in February. Fit for Murder.
Oh yeah. I auditioned for that.
Yeah, probably.
you got
Probably
it.
the same part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
one
it
of the-
detective?
Yeah, detective.
Oh,
you bastard. Are we
Speaking
done?
of that roller coaster of
Just look at
emotions.
me. I'm no detective.
Are we
trust
done?
me.
Is it over?
Yeah, I am no.
I
Yeah.
think it's time for you to
Yeah,
go.
Carly, turn the
Yeah.
camera off, would you?
All right, awkward.
I am definitely no detective. The people would not be
You
scared.
don't play
or-
a good cop,
no.
period.
I'm afraid of. I'm not good at any kind of detective or cop type
Anything with
roles.
a gun,
I'm
he's
just not good at that kind of stuff.
You're not a dick.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Are you
All
saying
Well,
Aaron is a
now
dick?
I,
I mean,
now,
yeah.
now I feel
Yeah.
attacked.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Understandable.
It is sort of my casting.
He kind of is a dick, but he doesn't play.
Do you
like you
get,
don't
do you get
play
cast
a
as
dick.
cops and
a dick.
detectives?
Not cops and detectives, but dicks.
Oh, dicks.
So you can play a good dick.
Yeah, I wish I could.
I mean,
You
I did a
can't.
short film, a local short film with a friend of mine, and she had cast me, and not to get into too much detail, but we sort of were rehearsing with other actors, and we were kind of improvising, and she was like, "Oh, I have to rewrite this character. You really play like an asshole,
you're
really
a dick.
well."
Awesome.
You know, I was like, "Great, thank
Yeah,
you."
I always want to
Yeah.
be, but
He he wants to, but it doesn't come off that way.
I'm kind of my
it's like
my.
a golden retriever. It's like a
I'm
happy
kind of like
go-lucky.
I'm kind of like
Yeah.
a goofy, lovable
Yeah.
dad type
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, a good sitcom dad. I would
Yeah,
say.
oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
he'd be
yeah.
a great sitcom
That would be my.
dad.
I mean, I've been on a few sets of sitcoms. That would be my dream deal because you go there every week. You rehearse the shit out of it and put it
Right.
up. I would love that. That'd be great.
I mean,
wish I could
those,
just get
those
that.
gigs, you know, I mean, I have never done one, but you know, you hear like,
Sounds
oh, it's
great.
9 to 5 and you do this and it's like, it's
How
super easy.
great.
Do
You
you
go to
read
the same
through and you
place.
shoot? Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
and I think that's why a lot of, you know, kind of movie actors that then later, as they get a little bit older and have families, transition to TV
yeah.
because it's a little
Yeah.
more schedule. You can sort of like, we're always in LA
You get
and we have
summers
kids
off.
and kids are in school and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a little bit of an easier schedule at
Yeah.
least for
well,
for some of
comedians
those
obviously
guys.
are on a lot of sitcoms too, so gives you the opportunity. I mean, that's a lot of
Romantic
times you get
comedy.
discovered a little bit just for a sitcom. You know, say, hey, I like that guy on stage, so let's write a thing around him.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, I
it's-
think, you know, certainly
sounds-
that still happens.
like a
and I
needle
think,
in a haystack,
you know,
but-
some of those guys
yeah.
talk about like back in the 80s, they were, you know, handing out sitcoms at the airport to stand-ups, you know. But I don't think it works quite like that
I don't
anymore.
think so
but,
anymore. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
But also, you know, when it comes to stand-up, I mean, I'm 2 years in. I live in Reno. I go to LA, you know, when I fairly often.
Right.
But I'm not on anybody's radar, you know.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And you
Let's
know,
put
you post
positive
stuff
here.
online, and you're like, well, maybe you can go viral and all that. But even that is,
Yeah.
you know.
But you have to keep plugging along because you don't know what opportunities are out there for you. Because my agent tells me this. She goes, just take everything and look at it. You're going to meet somebody or you're going to
Yeah.
do something and somebody might say, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? So it's just an opportunity of meeting people.
I
and
think
stuff.
it's, you know, you are what you repeatedly do. And it's a
Yeah.
sort of a game of inches
Yeah.
until hopefully, you know, and you keep getting better and you keep, you know, making more connections. And then hopefully eventually somebody says,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I do think ultimately you do need that at some point in your career, somebody with some
Yeah.
connections or power
Right.
to sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
be like, okay,
It's kind of not
I
what you
pick
know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go
guarantee
viral
you.
online too. That's sort of a whole other option, but it's still kind of the same thing.
Well,
of,
as someone who has 1 million followers, they'll give them a role in a movie.
Oh, for sure.
And they can't act for shit. They,
Yeah.
they never even put a scene up, and they're in
Yeah.
a fucking movie. You know,
I did
so
hear
it's
this quote a couple, I don't know, months ago maybe, and it was your net worth is equal to your network.
okay, sure.
So it's kind of like who you know can get you where you want to go.
Well,
That's a good one. I like that.
that's a little bit of that, similar idea of what I said about, artwork, although I think that was before
Yes,
we started
before we started
recording. But it's
recording.
like artwork is kind of valued by who you can get it in front of and in
Yeah.
what context. Because if you get it in a fancy gallery in New York, you might sell something for 20 grand. But if you're at a flea market in Sparks, it might be
20
$200
bucks,
or
maybe.
20 bucks.
right.
So context and sort of legitimacy and things like that.
Right. Let's get into that for a second. You said you've been an artist for how many years?
I know you're a little jack of all trades.
Well, anything to not
Left
get a real
brain.
job. Pretty
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
much.
I
called
like
left
it.
brain, right?
And I do hear that a lot. I am fairly analytical when it comes to certain things. I don't know. I like I said, I do think it's anything to not get a real job and be independent, which is I take to an extreme as I think it becomes a flaw at a certain point. Because you can only sort of go so far by yourself. Like you can't make a movie by yourself.
That's true.
I've tried. It doesn't work.
yeah.
That does seem hard.
You need to collaborate, and that's
But that
that's
makes
a
Tell
sense
Apple
challenge
that
for
with
me.
their new iPhone commercials.
Right.
Yeah, right.
well,
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, the thing's like a blockbuster movie with an iPhone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that explains things because I mean, it makes your life real simple being a comic because you're on stage, you up with your glass of water and your microphone.
Yeah, I mean,
or
there's
whatever,
you're independent to by and large. I mean, you have to get someone to give you stage time.
Yeah.
Which is a challenge. But I've been an artist. 2001, I made a license plate map of the United States.
Oh.
So each state cut out of that
Yeah.
state's license plate. It's kind of a
I like
giant
that.
jigsaw
That's
puzzle.
cool.
And made it for my business partner at the time. We were in the wholesale home furnishings business. It was just a gift for her, and because she was an artist. And it was kind of the first thing I'd ever made. And she's like, you should make another one and put it in the showroom. You could sell that. And I was like, no, thank you. That was not
this
very
is
much
the-
fun
yeah.
to make.
Right? Yeah.
And she's like, you could sell it for a lot of money. And I was like, okay.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
then.
now
Yeah.
somebody doing it. Yeah. How many of those have you made?
A lot.
Oh, seriously? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
A
Oh.
lot.
I've done lots of other designs and some other sort of big scale projects. But that piece, the map of the United States, has, I have lost track because we started doing them for home goods.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 maybe.
Oh, okay,
Something
wow.
like
Holy
that.
cow.
That seems like
3,500.
something your
Yeah.
dad would like, Cakes.
It does sound
He's
like
he's a
something my dad
license
would
plate. Some people are license
Yeah.
plate people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, a lot of memories and I use all the old ones with sort of great colors and good combinations.
How do you
and
get
stuff
the
like that.
plates?
Yeah, where do you find all these plates? Like that's 50 plates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Go to the local prisons,
I didn't do
right?
that much time in prison. No, I
Just
that
a
was
couple
challenge.
states.
That was
yeah.
a challenge initially, but there's a whole hobby culture of collectors and guys that's what they do. They collect old license plates, and so I started buying from these guys. And every once in a while, I'll come across one that's like, "Oh, you're that guy. You're the guy that
Oh.
cuts them up. I don't want to sell to you." And I
Oh,
was
whoops. Hmm.
Oh,
All
right.
fine. But they've plates I used to buy for $1 are now $8. They've gotten
Ew.
everything's gone. Like everything, but
A
it's
little inflation on license
when
plates.
sometimes I worry about that, and then it's like, well, it has been 23 years. Of course, things have gotten more expensive.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
When you were selling that art in Beverly Hills, was the license plate the art?
Yeah.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah.
So like I said, the U.S. map is kind of my signature piece. But I do like the Hollywood sign and the Vegas
Oh,
sign. I
that's
do
fun.
classic cars
Oh,
and stuff
that's
like
pretty
that. So
cool.
very Americana kind
I
of
think
stuff.
we
American
put one right there,
flags and
Keeks, on that wall right there.
Right.
There you go. Sure.
I
No,
like the
you
hall-
can't do it on that wall because that's your audition wall.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Where the hell are we gonna put
Yeah,
it?
well, no.
I like the Hollywood. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Like
So Hollywood
spaces.
sign at
How
night.
big
so
is
it's good. It's 62 by 40.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty good size.
Yeah,
That's a pretty
yeah.
decent size.
That's
The
pretty cool. I gotta
original
check that out.
license plate map was the template I made was from like an old school map, one of those kind of.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Yep.
it's kind of that.
So
Yeah.
decent
It's pretty good
size.
size. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
So, ooh. You gonna commission him to make you?
Yeah, possibly. I figure I can get a discount out of them.
Sure. Okay,
Right here,
okay.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, here's
Oh,
Nora Jones is
yeah,
in the
saying
studio,
hi.
in the house. Nora's
Just
in
in
the house
case you
and
forgot her.
Our dog loves you. Yeah, you want a dog sit sometime?
I wouldn't mind. She can come over and stay with me and my dog. Absolutely.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a black lab mix, rescue, sort of big underbite, crooked face, sweetheart. That's like my whole reason for getting out of bed in the morning.
Right. And then
She's the reason he gets out of bed also because she kicks him out.
Yes.
yeah, right. I'm kicked out of bed. Yeah, she goes when I come into bed. She goes down to the dog bed. But when I leave in the morning,
She comes
she
back.
comes in. But if
Yeah.
I get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, she's assuming I'm leaving.
Sure. go
And
at
she's
a
laying
time.
right in my spot in a like 6 foot long stretched out dog. It feels like
Yeah.
like, and you can't budge her.
Right.
One thing I can guarantee you is these guys will probably never buy any of your art.
They might.
Which
This
guys?
segment of Life with Eric is brought to you by
430 National,
Great American Storage
America,
and Reno Yard.
for all your outdoor storage needs.
They
If
do
you-
like America, so they
Oh,
might.
they do like
yeah, I'm like,
America.
I think
I
you're
didn't
giving
know
him a
that was
chance.
Kylie and I on that.
I didn't, but no, I just got an email yesterday from a guy who has a storage unit business in New Mexico about making his company logo out of license plates.
Oh,
So who
see.
knows?
Oh,
We'll
that's
see.
yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
See what
fun.
Yeah,
happens.
maybe Reno Storage can use that.
Hey, Reno
Yeah.
Yard.
Or Reno Yard. I say the wrong name.
Giving somebody else credit.
I should have hit you up. I just rented a storage unit for a day and a half, and everybody was very confused at the storage place.
Ooh,
A
that
day
sounds
and
like
a
a
half.
body's
Why?
in there.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a murder scene.
We
Yeah.
used it for a scene in a short film that I shot
okay.
last
Oh,
week.
you
Which
shot it
again,
in
I
the storage.
apologize. Last week I had to cancel on you guys. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah,
about
that's
that.
okay.
It
We
was,
badmouthed you a little bit. But that's
Yeah,
fine.
I know. I heard that. I heard that. Yeah. I was like, well, it wasn't last second, but it was last minute. I think it was
He
pretty
likes
late.
to make
so I-
it sound like,
No,
better for him.
you were cool. We've had.
He's had to do that on a guest not that long ago.
What's that?
You had to cancel. We had to cancel.
Oh yeah, we did have to cancel. We did cancel. Yeah.
So
we
he has
had-
no room to
we
talk.
know
Pot
it.
calling the kettle black.
Yeah, we know it happens. Hey, let's listen to another clip.
Okay.
You want to after we get done with the clip, let's talk about the clip for a second.
Okay.
I mentioned I'm 51. I'm also single.
Well, I fucked up. Hang on.
I'm
Yeah,
just like,
you
which
might
clip
wanna-
is this? Which clip is this? What am I?
Live here.
I'm not used to running clips, but here we go.
I mentioned I'm 51. I'm also single. Yeah, you might want to wait to hear the rest of the set before you get too excited about that. Dating has changed a lot since I was young. Like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I really got upset about the idea of like women my age dating older men. It just seemed really unfair. But now that I'm in my 50s, I feel like it's fair enough.
That's so true. That's some serious. Yeah, I mean that's the best stuff about comedy, right? Because people can relate to that. It's like when you get older, yeah, you're like, younger woman's just fine.
Yeah, I don't
wrong
know
with
what
that.
happened to make me change my mind about that, but had a change of heart.
Are you single?
I am single, and look, in my
Ready to
defense,
My defense.
I date women my own age, and I
You don't have to.
He
I
can't
date,
say
I date
that.
women.
I cannot say that, yeah.
I date women older than me too. I mean,
Oh, look at you. You're an equal opportunist.
Well, I
You
think
date women older than you?
I mean,
That
the,
fascinates
Eric's never
me.
done that in his whole life.
the big takeaway is that I'm very lonely. That's,
And you're depressed.
That's yes.
You're depressed
I'm lonely
too,
and
right?
depressed. So
Yeah,
I it's not exactly a lot of. There's some red flags, I think. From
It's good material though.
right.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Yes.
see,
If,
it's
if
silver
anything,
lining.
it's good material.
Yeah.
We just saw a friend that I ran into his ex-wife at the dog
Oh,
park.
yes.
And she says, I said, what's he doing now? I'm not mentioning names. What's he doing now? She says, oh, he was dating one of the Orange County housewives. And
Oh,
he's on
boy.
one episode. So I go, Kylie watches that shit.
Oh,
boy.
yes.
And
And
so-
I love a
that-
reality
Yeah.
show.
And so I go, Kylie, find him. She
Oh,
finds
it
him on
took me all
friggin'
of
Hulu
3
in
minutes.
2 seconds. We
Yeah.
watched the episode.
Oh, it was
And
cringy.
he was with an older.
He
but
was
they
with
were,
an
like,
older, which
kissing
you
in the bar.
were amazed.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Well, this is a housewife, so she's like super rich, right?
Right.
Yeah. And,
okay.
and they're in Corona Del Mar and the Quiet Woman.
Right.
I don't
Sure.
know if you know that place. And it was him. I was
was
like,
him.
yeah, look at him. I don't think he made any more episodes.
He
but,
did not.
or he didn't make the cut with the
He
housewife.
did not
or
Who
make
she
whatever.
was dating that week, that episode.
She
or whatever.
was. She very openly
Yeah.
said, "I'm dating 3 different guys. This is one."
Yeah, and then he came
And
to
he
the bar.
didn't. He only made it in that one episode.
It was shocked to see him though, because I know him pretty well. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa.
I have not watched those shows, but I've seen clips, and I feel like dating anyone who is that just seems like a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about going on The Bachelor?
Oh.
No, I don't.
No one's ever made a video of you. We can send this in.
You're more than welcome to send it
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And they can call me and I can tell them to.
I mean, what better way to get your comedy on the TV?
Yeah.
Be the Bachelor.
I
You
just
guys
don't
are
for a
like in a
while.
weird age range, though. They usually go like 30 or like 65.
Do they have a middle Bachelor?
They need like a middle.
I look young for my age.
Yeah,
I could,
you're fine. You're fine. He'd be fine to be Bachelor. You're
you need
saying
like
he's
a
too old to be
bachelor
the
with
Bachelor?
baggage.
I could
Yeah,
never be
I need-
Bachelor.
I
I'd be
need
like,
the-
I'd be like,
Oh, he's
yeah.
he's again that golden retriever. He's too nice. He wouldn't want to give any he wouldn't want to kick anybody off. He'd want to
wouldn't
give
dump any
everybody
of
a
them.
rose.
I keep 'em all.
He'd keep them all. He'd propose to 45 girls.
That's not going to work for,
Right.
for you need conflict.
Propose
You
to
need,
them all,
yeah.
Harry Winston. Oh, no, it's not Harry Winston. Whoever the guy is not going to give you that many rings.
The guy who
the
brings the
jeweler?
rings
Yeah,
to the
the
Bachelor. Yeah.
jeweler.
Do you
Yeah.
watch that show ever on TV?
We
No,
do.
I've seen,
Yeah.
I've seen clips, and
It's not good. Yeah.
No, that doesn't mean it's not fun
No,
to watch.
I mean,
you
it's,
know, we
I
all
guess,
have our things. It's just that's not mine.
Yeah.
I think that's
Write that down because that's gonna be a good joke. Right.
right.
That's your recording.
We
Yeah.
overthink.
She's
we
like, oh.
overthink for this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The reality TV, you know, I did a home makeover show, which is early
Oh, you're
reality
telling
TV that I hosted for HGTV. But you know, it's there's not a lot of reality in
Not
reality
really.
TV,
There's a lot
obviously.
of like
now.
producer pushing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of editing and
Yeah.
When you were doing that HGTV show, was that scripted or you improv it kind of?
it was not scripted,
nice.
which was because that's the nature of the show. But it was also frustrating because they would have an outline, you know, because we started the show from scratch. There wasn't like an established kind of structure for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the shooting script would sort of be like, you know, Aaron says something funny here.
Oh boy, that's
like,
no pressure.
Do you guys got any suggestions?
yeah, we were like,
Right,
where do
yeah.
we go with this? Yeah.
And then, you know, it was
pretty
the first
funny.
gig I'd had. I'd been in LA less than a year. It was like my third audition, and I ended up, you know, hosting my own show. So
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
had no idea
How
what
many
was
episodes
going
you
on.
do?
I did. I don't remember. 52.
Oh wow!
Wow. What
that's a lot of
what
episodes.
kind of a show was it? Have I seen this and didn't know it was you?
It was a long time ago. It was when the home makeover shows were really popular.
Yes.
Extreme Home Makeover was on.
Uh-huh.
So my show was the opposite of that because that show was like, right, you spend $10 million, you build them a mansion. My show we spend $0
Oh,
and we rearrange your furniture.
hey, there you go.
to
essentially,
make it
yeah.
more feng shui-ish.
Yeah.
shui.
Which usually involved, you know, taking everything out of the room and putting half of it back, and then it looks great on camera. But that was the
We
premise.
painted
the
a
show,
wall.
Yeah, the show was called Freestyle. I was only allowed to use what the homeowners already had.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, you think about the before and after pictures.
Did
pretty
you
much identical,
do any
you
of
know.
like the work?
I
Like
did
the
some of
design
it.
work?
It's
Like
a
help move
little
couch
bit of
from here to here or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Nope.
funny because I pitched myself as a designer,
Mm-hmm.
made an audition tape, you know, just made over a couple buddies in my acting class's apartment, and they loved it
Great.
and hired me from
pretty cool.
that. But I'm not a designer, but I have friends who are designers. So there was
Okay.
a lot of like sending pictures.
What do I do?
To me, it was
yeah.
like an acting gig.
Yeah.
But I was acting for the network and the producers just as much as, you know, the camera.
Right.
And sort of pretending
sounds
to be
stressful.
a designer. A little bit, yeah.
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 Yeah, we were talking about this before we went on the air, and he was saying that, you know, the crew's call time would be 7 and your call time would be 9, and you would have to get there, but the homeowners or whatever were.
It took me a little while to figure it out that, you know, because the homeowners are not actors and
Right.
usually not performers of any kind, they would oftentimes be nervous.
Right.
Not always.
But,
Yeah.
But
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people don't do
times-
well on camera, and they think that
Yeah.
they will.
And so I realized like I would just start showing up at 7 o'clock and hang out with them.
Make it feel more
they were
comfortable
always
and-
going to be on camera with me for the most part. So
we got a coaster.
whatever I could do
I
to
just
get
want it to
them.
be his wallet.
Sorry to
get them-
interrupt.
That's all right.
Aaron.
No, if the dog's
dog-
eating my phone,
the dog-
then
the
I
I
dog
think
think we should
she
stop.
grabbed
yeah.
your coaster, and
That's
she's
all right.
gonna get that coaster.
The dog is stealing your thunder.
That's all right. No, that's
Sorry.
You know, where
So
were
you
we?
also became like a therapist.
Not a therapist, but just kind of
kinda.
like trying to put them at ease as much as possible because it just made the show better and made them better on the show. And like we weren't out to put anybody in a bad
And it probably
light.
kind of
It wasn't
made
that kind
your
of
shooting
show.
day a little
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, it was just like a little bit fewer takes, and
Yes.
and it didn't always work, but sometimes just sort of trying to put people at ease is when they've never done that before.
That's cool.
And I was just pretending just as much as anybody. I mean, I really thought, like, I got the show. It shot in Minneapolis. I lived in
Oh.
Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
So they flew me out to shoot the pilot. And I was like, well, obviously, they're going to fire me halfway through this thing. But this will be a good story. I'll
that's
go to
the big time,
Minneapolis.
yeah.
and
Yeah,
I'll
and-
shoot the
I'm in the
pilot,
big
and
time,
then
yeah.
I'll go on to the next thing or whatever.
Put it on my resume
And, I faked it well enough.
and to make it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of found out this is such a it's such a douchey actory thing to say, but
Say it.
I'm way more comfortable between action and cut than I am like everywhere else in real life.
Yeah.
I don't think that's douchey to say.
Well, Kylie, I mean, I can kind of relate to that. I get that. What mean you like being somebody else?
I mean, to an extent, and I think there's a certain amount of, understanding that like if it doesn't work, we can do it again. Doesn't have to be perfect.
And sometimes
Yeah,
you can kind
yeah.
of let your guard down and people think maybe you're being fake, but it's really you.
Right. And
There's
also well, I'm acting, so it's fine. And it's an excuse, especially like in acting, like being emotional or whatever, like it's an excuse to
Yeah.
be okay, sort of going
Yeah.
big, going small,
because
crying.
Yeah.
people
whatever.
think
It's
you're
like,
acting,
well, I'm
but
just
you might
acting, so
just
I'm like,
actually letting out
Yeah.
what I
And
was pissed about yesterday. So
Well, I mean, it might be a good thing to play a dick.
yeah,
Because
that's really fun.
you let it out.
That's
Yeah,
really
you,
fun,
let it out. You got all this, pent up, shit inside you, and
Yeah.
you let it out once in a while.
And I'm a sensitive, emotional guy, but I spend most of my life pretending that I'm not.
Right? Yeah.
No.
But on camera, I mean, I can cry real tears like at the drop of a hat. It's so
man,
like,
that's
That's
good.
impressive.
and usually it's like, yeah, you gotta pull that back a little
That's
bit.
too
Like,
much.
it's
Oh,
too
wow.
much,
It's
you
gonna
know?
do a
Like, we
bigger
don't need you
thing for you.
sobbing on
But
the
that's
floor.
a really good
That's not-
acting skill.
That
Or,
is.
it's not really a skill. You just have it in you.
I mean,
Yeah.
when it's appropriate, it's nice to have right there. Yeah.
Do you do that in your comedy? You should do that in comedy act.
Well-
I would pay for money for that. I want to see you cry on stage.
I mean, I talk about it, but I don't.
Like,
I
I
have
could
not cried
see
on
it.
stage on purpose.
Right.
Anytime
I
recently.
just thought
certain
of
group
a
being
viral
uncomfortable with
fucking
that.
moment. I swear to God, you have some set and you
This the
in the
comedian
middle
cries.
in the comedian cries. Oh, it's kind of like that reindeer.
What?
What's
I
that
haven't
the
seen Baby.
reindeer?
I haven't seen Baby Reindeer.
Baby Reindeer,
No,
yeah.
I hear good things.
He gets on stage. He's
He
a
did say he
comedian
started
that
crying.
you got to watch that.
He had like
Yeah.
a breakdown.
I mean, it's kind of a weird, gross show.
It is.
But he
But
gets
it
on.
was good.
He gets on stage and he bombs. So he finally says, "Fuck it," and he gets on stage.
and he starts talking
And
about
he
like his
starts
real life.
talking
Right.
about how he got molested and this
And
and
everyone
this.
loves it.
And he's crying and crying and crying.
and
Everybody
people like
loves
thinks
it.
it's his
Yeah.
his shtick, and they dig it.
Yeah, and that's a true story too. The guy was a really
Yeah,
comedian.
I
you
do
know?
need to watch that. I mean, I'm doing a full hour now that I did at the Hollywood Fringe Festival in June. I did a bunch of shows.
That's a
and
long
it's-
time on stage by yourself. That's vulnerable.
That is a
That's
long
like
time.
standing up there naked. That's like
It
vulnerable,
is,
you know?
yeah. And I do, 10 minutes on my brother committing suicide.
Oh Lord.
Oh, your brother did commit suicide?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Sorry about
And
that.
most of it's funny to most people, but not everyone.
Yeah.
And there's some, there's a
I mean, it's some
short
sensitive
moment
material.
in it that's
Yeah.
not funny, but and I try
Yeah.
to prepare people for that show. Of
Yeah.
That it's,
Hey.
Wow.
And now when
Wow,
I,
that's deep,
so
man.
it's, but
Well, it's like
and
a one-man show more than a...
It is a little bit,
than a
yeah. But it's
comedic
funny because
act.
I've some people that have seen it that are sort of, in the business or at a higher level. They're like, well, you're kind of straddling this line between stand-up and a one-person show, but it's kind of but I write to stand up.
Yeah.
I write
love
to
the
jokes.
idea of a one-person show. Like, I
Yeah.
have this weird thing in my mind that when I was a kid that I always wanted to do a one-man show. Never did it or anything, but
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
Just saying.
yeah, okay.
You don't
dreaming.
know if it's a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
I
doesn't
don't
think
know
so
if
because
he's
what's
a
funny
one-
to me, no one
Yeah,
thinks
I
it's
don't know
funny.
if he's a one man show kind of guy.
somebody probably does.
Yeah,
and then
maybe
that's the real
somebody out there,
challenge
yeah.
is like you finding your audience,
Yeah.
which is easier online,
Yeah.
but also
But that's some deep
know.
shit. But it's better if it's true, right?
it depends.
I
I,
mean,
think so. That's
I
what
would
I'm
think
drawn
so,
to.
yes.
Well,
You
because
know,
we're playing these clips, these seem like very true
Yeah,
things
this-
in your
yeah,
life.
most-
you know?
I feel
mean-
like if you're faking that stuff, people are gonna be like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, then
I
that's,
like
that's
had
come
empathy
on.
for you, and now I
It's the
kinda
comics
hate
that I
you.
like talk about true stuff. There's Jeselnik, Anthony Jeselnik, very dark comic, who I have huge respect for. I would love to have a tenth of his career. Been around forever. Absolutely doing great. But not one of my top go-tos because none of his stuff is true.
Oh.
Oh.
He tells us stories about his family, these horrible things happen to his family or his sister and
And it's
stuff.
not true?
It's not true. And
Oh,
it's just
gosh.
horrific turns.
Oh, I don't like
So
that.
you like, and if you know him and you're like, I don't know where this is going, it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it turns, and it's funny, and I no shade at all. He's a
Yeah.
very established,
I mean, that's his
national
thing.
headliner
Yeah.
for years, decades. He's a great comic, but but again, none of it's true.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. We got to come. We got to come see you. I like the idea. I like the idea of the comedy on stage and us sympathizing with you.
Right. I like
I like that. I like that idea. I mean, we watch reality TV. That's kind of what it is
We watch a
sometimes.
lot of that.
Yeah.
You sympathize with the guy on stage. So
But it's a fine line, you know. Those suicide jokes I started the first time I told them on stage in a 7 or 8 minute set at I don't know, the Laugh Factory somewhere in LA. You know, they did not go particularly well. When I drop them 45 minutes into an hour show,
then
and
it's
people
their-
kind of
the
know that I'm
timing.
okay,
Well, they kind of get to know your personality.
and they know what's going
yeah.
on, it works a little better. Yeah.
you can hear
that.
a pin drop. Like,
No, I got
I feel
talked
sorry for this
into.
guy.
I got talked into this one specific joke that all my writing friends really loved. Like, oh my god, it's so good,
Right.
because comics love dark stuff, and
Yeah.
and it just comes out of left field of like, wait, your brother did what? And they're like, you got to do that. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, no, it's like that's our
Yeah.
favorite joke.
Right.
I did it. And
Who are these writing friends of yours?
It's a community in LA that I did it when I lived in LA like 04 to 09 when I did HGTV show and all that stuff. And the last maybe 7 or 8 months I lived there, I did stand up. I mean 12 times, you
Right,
know,
yeah.
so
Oh, I
like,
mean,
you know, it
that's-
barely counts.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it's a community that's been around a long time, and sort of people kind of come in and out, and they do these like 10-week writing sessions. Where you just
Okay,
get together. It's essentially an open mic,
okay.
but it's
Yeah.
an open mic with people that are
That
helpful.
Critique you or tell you to tweak
Instead
it
of
a little bit
sitting
there.
there looking at you with hatred,
Yeah.
and refusing to laugh no matter what,
Right, yeah,
which is
yeah.
most open mics.
Yeah.
So it's and very like, hey, I didn't understand this, or hey, what about this, or you should talk more about that, or suggesting tags and punchlines, and so it's a very collaborative process, and it's very helpful.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Plus, you can try that material with them before you even try it in front of an audience. Yeah.
I mean, by the
Yes.
time, and it sort of runs in these like 10-week cycles, and then at the end
Yeah.
we all get together and do a show, and
okay.
and everyone invites their friends and family, and it's
Safe space.
a safe space, and everybody's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not shows in LA in particular, the bringer shows, which are sort of famous in the comedy world. Everybody hates these bringer shows, which is like you're expected to bring a certain number of the audience.
Oh, gotcha,
Okay.
And we will give you time.
That makes sense.
Well, you have 12 comics and everybody brought 5 friends, or probably, especially in LA, dragged out 5 friends.
yeah. We're not going to another one of these.
They're there to see that person and nobody else.
Right.
Other people are there to see you. And, it's a tough room, and again, it goes back to that, like, if you have a ton of followers, we'll give you time.
Yes.
Because the club wants to sell
Right.
drinks.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
Yeah,
you
they
know.
want
They don't
customers.
really care about your comedy.
They hope you're funny, but
Yeah,
if
right.
if you bring in 500 people and they all buy drinks and nobody laughs, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
they
ever
don't
been
care.
to the comedy club in Hermosa where Jay Leno always
Oh, the
frequents?
Comedy Magic Club?
Yeah.
I have been there, but I have not performed there. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
have been there. Yeah.
We've been there a few times.
I've
I've been
only
there a
been
few
there
times. You've been
once.
there one time. We saw Jay Leno comes
Yeah.
Sure.
and practices his stuff,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen Jay Leno?
Not live. No.
Man,
no, I
pretty
never have.
good. Yeah.
I was surprised.
He's a great stand-up.
How sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is sharp as
Yes,
a
we just
tack.
saw him
He's
last
older
spring.
too,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sharp as a tack and
Yeah.
funny. Like I didn't imagine I would laugh that hard at J Lo.
I didn't
Yeah.
either.
I mean,
He was
his
hilarious.
Tonight Show stuff is not his stand-up stuff.
No.
No, it's way his stand up is 10 times better.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, but they have some good comedians at that. I mean, that's a great place if you ever get a gig there. They have
Yeah,
some
I
really
had friends
good
that do
comedians.
shows there, and it's definitely got a good reputation for doing good stuff.
Yeah, I think so. And when we were there, Arsenio Hall just
Just
popped in,
swung on
jump
by,
on
yeah.
stage for like
Yeah.
10 minutes. It was great. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's-
we're there on like a Tuesday night
It
or
was a
something like
random
that.
night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a
But
random
that's
night.
LA, right?
Yeah.
Because for those comics, that's going to the gym.
Right.
You got to go to the gym every day.
Yeah. And Arsenio Hall was just riffing. I mean, he
Yeah,
was,
he had
was
no-
just
I don't
talking.
even think
he was
he had a
just
set
talking to
plan.
us.
Yeah.
Now,
He was-
the guys
there
at
was
that
no
level,
set. He was just
that have
talking
been
to
doing
us.
it that long. It's a whole different.
The comfort is crazy,
I saw
right?
there's a Tuesday night in Santa Monica. Neil Brennan, who created the Chappelle Show with Dave
Yep.
Chappelle, he does like a new material night, and it's like
wow.
him and 3 or 4 buddies who are all established, working road
comfortable,
comics. And this is probably a year ago, but he's like, I'm like, if this is new material, like I gotta retire because this is. And he was like a month in front of recording a special. Like it was,
Oh, geez.
But
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
got notes and he's crossing stuff out and he's
Yeah.
trying 3 different punchlines and
He had
he's
like a
just,
pad of paper. And
Yeah,
like,
he's
you
just
guys
like,
like
oh,
that? No,
you
you
guys don't
don't?
like that.
Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it seemed like people like that. Like, is that your
oh, I
level?
liked
That doesn't
it,
make
yeah.
your level of acceptance. But
yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So your comedy shows that you're doing recently, are they stand up or are they a 1 hour show?
So I've been, I did my show in LA a bunch in June at this Hollywood Fringe Festival, which was an hour. I've done a couple shows since then. I haven't performed a lot since then, but I have some shows coming up next week. So
we got to go see you. What night you doing next week?
So Wednesday and Friday in Reno at the Bruca Theater. Wednesday night, I have a couple friends from LA coming up. So that'll be kind of your standard stand-up thing. It'll be four of us doing, 15, 20 minutes each.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
And then Thursday in Tahoe City. And Friday back at Bruca, I'm doing my hour, just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to see that hour one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing on Friday?
What night is that? Friday?
Friday in Reno
write
and
that
Thursday
down.
in Tahoe City at the Tahoe Wine Collective. If you're out there, because this comes out I think before then. So
Yeah, Wednesday. It come out Wednesday. So that's cool.
yeah. So we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah. I have a friend. He works in he does like trucking and logistics for Hollywood for Universal.
Okay.
And so he's friends with a lot of stars and stuff.
Sure.
And he used to have those. They used to have these gyms. It was like a semi truck with a gym inside it. So like Mark Wahlberg would say, "I want the gym on set because I got to work out on set."
Sure.
And so everybody, and one of his people who had the gym was Jim Carrey.
Okay.
And so he owned the gym. So he used to go and work out. Like he's on set for 14 hours with them. So he would just go work out, and Jim Carrey would be in there. So they'd talk all the time.
Right.
And then at nighttime they would all stay together and they would play poker. And they were filming some movie, and Jim Carrey was staying in his own private little cabin. They were on location somewhere, and they were playing poker. And Jim Carrey knocks on the door and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And comes in super down and not Jim Carrey, super down and depressed.
Okay. Yeah.
What are you doing? Quiet. They said, "Oh, do you want to come and play
It's
poker?"
like the crew you're talking.
The crew,
a bunch of crew. Yeah.
You want to play poker with us? And they go, "Yeah, you can't," because he was bored or lonely or whatever by himself.
Sure.
And said he came in, played a whole round of poker with him. No snarkiness.
No
nothing.
Jim Carrey.
Who is
No
this
Jim
guy?
Carrey, just sitting there, and he says the whole movie, he's on set, goofball Jim
Sure.
Carrey,
Yeah.
offset, quiet and down and depressed. And I think that it goes with a lot of you gonna get her?
Going for a wallet.
Yeah, don't get it.
No.
Don't, Aaron, you're like, get his wallet. Yeah, take his money.
Is this what this is all about?
Yeah.
We do a podcast, and
Leave
the
your
dog
wallet
steals
right
the
there.
wallet. And,
Right. Yeah. We got
yeah.
it
I mean,
down.
I think it's definitely sort of a common. It's talked about a lot. I think it's
Yeah.
true of a lot of comics. I mean, certainly, Robin Williams.
Well, there you
struggled
go.
with
That's
it tremendously, and then he had an illness too. But I did. I drop a name, but when I got my SAG card, I did extra work when I first lived in LA to get my union, which was a whole scam. It was like you paid off the casting director to get you extra work that would then get you your union card. It was a whole thing.
When I got my third SAG voucher, I got a voucher, right?
Yeah,
I submitted for this thing, and on the bottom of it, I said, "Please pick me. I just need one more voucher."
Okay, yeah.
And I got it.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, it was a Disney show. The director goes, "Was that you that put that on
That
the
was
thing?"
me.
And I go, "That was me." She goes, "I like that.
Yeah.
Good job." And she
Yeah.
picked me. Just because I put,
No, you
"Please
say-
pick me."
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the way I did it was somebody in my acting class was like, "No, you go to this casting office and you give them $300,
Really?
and
He's like, "I would've done
they'll
that."
cast you."
I would
Yeah.
have fucking done that.
Well,
in a
yeah, and I had
heartbeat.
been there like a year. I'm like, why didn't
How did I not
Why
know
didn't
this?
you tell me
that a
this
year
now?
ago?
Right, yeah.
And you think that's gonna, and it doesn't change anything. It didn't change anything for me.
I agree with you with that. Yeah.
You think like, I'm in the union. Like, well, yeah, so is everyone else. Nobody cares.
Right.
But no, I did my third one that I got was on one of his early dramatic ones, the Number 23. Like, not a good movie by any stretch of the
remember that,
imagination.
yeah.
And just played like a mental patient. But it was his last scene.
Mm-hmm.
And he got up and he gave this really very sort of inspiring speech about art and art versus commerce and everything. And it's like, yeah, it was, and he was a very serious person in that movie too.
Yeah,
But,
right.
I mean, I think you can't be on all the time.
I was just gonna say that you can't be on all the time.
No, I mean, I totally get that. Yeah. Like I call it like actors depression or whatever, when you're,
Well, it's just
when you're
like-
on, you find that, I mean, do you get this when you do a stand-up act? You do a stand-up act, let's say you're in LA, you're by yourself, right? Does this happen to you? You're by
I'm
yourself.
familiar
Okay.
with being by myself in LA.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, you're saying you're by yourself. You don't bring anybody with you. You do
I
the
mean,
act.
my entourage, but I don't really count them as people.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just below you, right? They're way below you. But you get done with the show, right?
Yeah.
now you might shake a few hands. Now you go back to either to your hotel or whatever, and it's just you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's quiet. You might call your mother or whatever, who knows, but just quiet. And you're there,
And you're kind of
like,
wired too.
and you're wired,
Oh, yeah.
and you're wired. And
Yeah.
I've had that feeling. You do like a great scene, and you do a movie, and you come off and great scene, and then you go to bed, and you're just like,
It's
No,
a quick
I'm just
drop
by
off
myself.
from
It is.
applause and
Yeah.
people liking you, hopefully
Yeah.
to nothing, to being alone in a hotel for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was this Hollywood Fringe Festival. So I did 9 performances in June of this hour show, and most of them were late. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock starts, over 11. By the time you get back to your place, it's midnight, and you're pretty wired. You're
Yeah.
exhausted.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
It's
emotionally
emotional.
exhausting.
I can't
and
imagine
you're doing
how much
that, but
an
you
hour
also
takes
can't
out
really
of your,
go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so I eat a lot of ice cream.
Oh, there you go.
It's one of my issues.
Makes you happy.
My issue.
It makes me happy for
could be
7
worse,
to 11
yeah.
minutes, which I think is why that store is called that. That's my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number of times I have, walked into a 7-Eleven. I have a joke about this, but it's sort of about depression, which is like, I think people have a misconception of like, unshaven and dirty clothes and, kind of a mess and like, oh, are you in trouble? Like, no, when I'm really not doing well, I clean myself up before I leave the house more because I don't want to have those
You don't want-
conversations.
you don't want-
And
Right.
so
Or
it's like,
suspect
well,
anything.
how do we know? It's like, well, if you ever see me wearing a tuxedo buying ice cream at midnight, like I'm
We
in
got a
trouble.
problem.
I'm
Right,
in
yeah.
real trouble, which has happened.
Right.
Oh.
Well, you're in
Oh.
you're in 7-Eleven and you're getting your ice cream and you're like, yeah, I'm a big deal. I was on stage for an hour just doing this.
Yeah.
You guys like, $3.50 please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna move shit.
Get the hell out of here, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it's all fleeting, which,
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to you and Kiley can relate to you.
Yeah.
Just
sorry.
being
I'm sorry.
yeah. No. That's why it fascinates me acting and I love it. You love it and you hate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because and then for some reason you're wired to do it. Don't know why any of us are being a
Well,
ham
because
or whatever.
you want
yeah.
strangers to love you more than people who actually do love you, and you
Right.
hate yourself.
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
absolutely.
I shouldn't speak for anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself.
I used to, I'll tell you this. I'm just going to tell you this. I used to lay down in the shower and cry.
Like
As I
lay
didn't-
down.
I would
You
lay
have a
down.
shower you can lay down
No.
in. I don't know what you have to cry about.
Right.
Oh, you ever heard of a
Right.
no,
I'm like-
bathtub shower?
All right.
Oh,
Bathtub
okay.
shower.
Okay.
How short
would-
are you?
I would lay down in there and cry because I was so unhappy with what I was doing and everything in my life. And then eventually I found acting and I don't lay down in the shower and cry anymore.
Great.
I mean, I cry in the shower and I just don't lay down.
You just
All
like
right, so,
stand and
one
cry.
step at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
But I mean, it's like people got to get that shit out.
I mean, yeah, I tried not getting it out for years. That didn't work.
Right.
I tried
Right.
not talking about my brother committing suicide for
Did-
15
yep.
years. That didn't work.
Does that help you?
I was gonna say it's probably a little
I don't
therapeutic
know.
for you.
It doesn't hurt. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I wonder, about some of the jokes, but I had a really weird experience with this.
Would your
like,
brother be happy you telling these jokes?
I don't know, but I had this. I posted this. I didn't post it on social media. I posted on Reddit. I guess is social media, but Reddit stand-up subreddit. I posted this 2 or 3 minutes of this suicide stuff, with like my hand hovering over the delete key as soon as
Ready
like
to-
people
yeah.
start downvoting it or making comments
ready
or
to- yeah.
whatever. Like because I can't. That's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
You should never read comments, but it's hard not to.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it went viral, but it got a couple 100,000 views and likes and a ton of comments, and some people that didn't like it, but a
Yeah.
lot of comments of like, oh, my brother did that, my sister
yeah,
did
yeah.
that, my
People
dad
can
did that.
relate,
This
yeah.
is amazing. This is so again, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But the fact that some number of people sort of did find it, cathartic and funny.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, it was really encouraging. Like, all right, I'm going to keep trying to work on this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
That's
people
cool. I
kind of
like
deal
that.
with sad stuff with like trying to be laughter or comedy or.
Yeah. Me personally, I love sad stuff. I don't know why I love the
What do you mean
sad
by
Have
stuff.
I got a
Sad stuff.
comedy show for you?
Yeah, I want to come see you.
Right.
I want to come see you. You're making me sad already. You're making me sad right now.
I mean, I've got depression, I got anxiety, I got my father in hospice, I got my brother committing suicide, I have my acting career. All tragedies,
Yeah, super.
across the board. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah, if folks can hear this dog squeaking,
She's
that's
got a
just nothing we
squeaking,
can
yeah.
fucking do about it, I guess, because
Yeah,
she's gonna.
she's just part of the show.
The dog just just rules us.
They're like, that's why we're here. Well,
Right.
Dog.
I-
Fuck this guy, but like,
Yeah, right.
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 Not,
I have a weird question for you.
please.
Right.
What have you ever hit AI for jokes?
I have
Oh.
not. I have not.
Because
Where'd you think of that?
I don't know because
Oh.
we were talking about last week on the podcast. We were talking about some AI stuff where people wear these necklaces now, and it's like an app, and it like tells you what to say.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw an ad for that or something, and I was like,
Oh,
I
God.
don't
Messed
want.
up.
There's ads
I
now?
don't want any part of that.
I mean,
No.
like you tell the AI now, or what's it called, Chat
Chat.
GBT.
Yeah,
So,
GBT,
yeah, I'm like,
Chat
I don't know.
GBT, because my kids use that shit all the time.
Right. Well, you got to write your papers
Like, hey,
in college
you know,
and stuff.
give me a
right?
funny joke about parrots or whatever, you know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
it'll give you 20 jokes. But I mean, it's crazy shit out there.
But
Yeah.
does it like take jokes kind of like from other people's like? does
Well,
I
it
don't know.
takes
Are they
them from
original?
whatever,
Yeah.
but it's kinda weird.
A comic. What is his name? Gianmarco Ceresi, I believe. He's in my algorithm. You know, sometimes you know.
Yeah.
And he's very good at social media and does a lot of crowd work and stuff. But
Right.
he had posted a thing of like, write a joke in the voice of, you know, Gianmarco. Like he told it to write it because I think he's enough well known that the
Fit, yeah,
AI
should
could
be able
had
to,
enough
yeah.
to grab onto, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And they were mostly like kind of seemed like stupid dad jokes, which is not really what he does.
Oh.
But you know, like it seems kind of feels like his wheels are spinning there. Like, oh, maybe I could tweak this a little bit.
Oh,
Like,
no.
this
Yeah,
might
you
be a
get
good
one, you
starting
tweak it.
point.
I mean,
you
I
know?
mean,
Oh,
it's
no. I
starting
need some
point,
new
yeah.
material.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But it's interesting.
I
Taking
mean,
over the
that's-
freaking world.
I don't know a lot about
shit.
AI.
I don't like
it's,
it.
It's sort of terrifying. I have
agree.
mostly worked in jobs and careers that I don't think are subject to that, but it depends how good it gets, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I don't like an AI.
You don't like it. Why?
No, it's not original.
Well, no, it's definitely not.
Yeah,
original.
Yeah,
know.
I don't. I mean, it's. I think my favorite stuff. It's hard for me to imagine the AI could come up with it. I think AI might come up with some popular stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
And I don't mean to be like that
No,
sounds
I
super
like it.
elitist, but like, I mean, and this is like,
Well, it's not. Yeah.
I mean, this is something I told. I'm just going to sound like an asshole, but like I have an hour of comedy. It's pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good.
I mean,
Why-
if
why do
you're
you
booking,
say-
if
why do you
you're
think-
booking
why do you
shows,
say
you're
it's
pretty
not- why do you
good.
say it's
But
not
I would
great?
say,
I know.
well,
Why do you say
'cause
it's not great?
I wouldn't put it in, like I wouldn't like it's not ready to like you should have a Netflix special. No, I
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, in my opinion, comedy is subjective. In my opinion, you know, it's better than the last two Netflix specials I've seen.
Okay, now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
So,
Good point.
But again, those are like, well, those are not comics that are not my style and not my thing. So it's, I'm a huge fan of Mark Maron, Mike Birbiglia, Maria Bamford, Tig Notaro, these people that are very personal and have also been doing it for 25 or 30
Yeah, yeah,
years.
yeah,
Just- yeah.
And so it's like, that's why I say like, it's what they do is great.
Uh-huh.
And I've been doing it for 2 years. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's good. I
good.
think it's worth coming
I
to.
mean,
you know?
okay.
I'm not embarrassed
I think it's
by
pretty
it.
good because if you've been doing it
good.
2 years and you have an hour of material,
Right.
You just
Right.
had people work on like 10,
Well,
20
which
minute
any
sets
legitimate
for, yeah.
comedian listening would be like, he doesn't have an hour. They'd be like, he has 20 minutes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, that's the common
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
refrain
yeah.
of like when you're
Right.
starting out and you think you have 10 minutes, you have 2.
You have 2. Yeah, I totally get that.
But like I said, I think it's pretty good. And it's us, you know, it's the stuff that I've been mulling over for decades,
Yeah.
you know. So it's
That's cool.
Yeah.
We've been talking about all this depression and stuff and your act and everything.
Yeah.
What brings you the most joy about being a comedian?
Oh,
um
you're changing the narrative there.
Well, why not?
Therapy's
Why
working
not?
on you.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a therapist too. I'm related to
No.
one.
I mean,
You go to
there's
therapy.
there's nothing that compares to when a joke works.
Hits.
It's this idea that you had, and especially if it's,
could see
I mean,
that.
sometimes, I mean, you never really know, but like, I mean,
What kind of feeling do you get inside when that happens?
I mean, there's a little bit of like, I was right. You know,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like
Yeah.
self-congratulations.
Yeah. That's cool.
And
Do you get more confident?
Yeah, you get. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Doing
joke.
this for a reason.
The joke that I generally open with took me a long time to even try, like at an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
And when that hits, I'm like, all right, we're good.
Oh,
This is gonna be fine. But it doesn't. It hits most of the time.
That would be hard if
But-
your first joke didn't hit. Like,
Yeah, and I'm also
Yeah.
not. I mean, now now I have more material. So if I'm doing a short set and like if certain things aren't hitting, I can pivot to. I mean, I can't pivot to like 10 minutes of dick jokes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you know, I can talk about HGTV, which is a little more accessible than
Yeah.
you know, getting fired from your first job in showbiz is more accessible than you know,
Yeah.
depression and you know that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
But once you have the audience at that first
Hook
joke
'em.
opening hook 'em, then you
You're
can go
like,
into
okay,
whatever you
good.
want, right?
Yeah,
You,
once
you
they're on
kinda got 'em.
board and they
Yeah.
trust you. I mean, that's, you know, half of it is like you're on stage with a microphone. They think you're a comedian.
It's a valid point.
So-
they came
They
first
came
and
to
last.
laugh. They didn't
yeah.
come not to laugh.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
there might
know.
be a couple assholes that came to heckle you, but
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody ever heckle you?
It's funny, you know.
You ever get a bad one?
I had a really weird experience at one of my shows at Fringe, which is like Fringe is not really stand up. It's mostly, I mean, most of my show is
Is
stand
Fringe a
up.
one-man show?
Fringe
deal?
Festival is like 300 shows through over town over the course of a month.
Okay.
I did 9 performances in this little black box theater, you know, 25 seats.
Oh.
And the one show that I actually recorded
I was
professionally,
gonna say, did you film it? Yeah.
a woman that I knew when I lived in LA and not seen it for 10 years, maybe more. I have a joke about texting, about how much I like texting, and it all is born out of this depression. Like I'm not good at interaction, I have anxiety. I can text people; it's great.
You like
I
to
don't
text.
have
life.
You
yeah.
like to text.
I'm on that.
It's like I don't have to interact with another human, right? It removes all the human interaction from all of my human interaction. Like
There's
I'm a
no
fan,
emotion
you know?
involved in it either.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it.
You can't see how I'm stressing about like I don't know, should I go to dinner with them? I don't know if I go to dinner, then
Right.
like all this shit that I go
Yeah.
through.
See, I'm a phone call
over
guy.
this
She's
stuff,
a texter.
right?
I'm a phone call guy.
Okay.
I don't want to
Yeah,
talk on
old
the
school.
phone
Yeah,
to
I'm
anybody.
old school.
Yeah, yeah.
My mom
no,
forces
I mean,
me to,
That's
but-
one of the tags. Is
Yeah.
like because if you call me on the phone, first of all, fuck you.
That's
Like,
what she
how-
says.
what are you
Yeah,
doing?
it's exactly it. Yeah.
You know?
Why would you call me?
Like,
Just
how
send me a
dare you?
text.
That's
yeah.
like if someone knocks
How
at the
dare
front
you?
door. Fuck
Oh.
you. Who's
Oh,
their
yeah, yeah.
fucking
Don't come
door?
to my door either.
And that's a joke, you know, that when I like, well, Tahoe One Collective, where I'm playing Thursday, I've done some shows there, and like that's usually kind of an older crowd, and like,
Yeah.
it gets a response, but not the response it gets from a bunch of 25 and 30-year-olds.
Oh my God. Yeah, she would rather
they're
die
like,
than
yeah.
call somebody. Yeah.
Because, you know, the phone call to them is like insane.
Yeah.
Whereas like 65-year-olds are like,
That's
what's
all
the
we
problem?
know.
Why
It's all
why
we do
he-
is
Why
call.
is he upset
Yeah.
about that? You know?
Why are you texting?
Where the hell was I going with that?
I like
we
that one.
sidetracked you. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's, I'm
The texting phone call deal.
Oh yeah, and so I was like, you know, I you know, blah blah blah. I don't like, you know, interacting with people. I have social anxiety. That's why I'm such a big fan of texting. No, call people. Like phones are ruining our lives. And I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, this is not a stand-up club. This is like a one person, you know. And I'm like, all right, and but it went back and forth like 3 times, and I
Okay.
handled
Right,
it
yeah.
like
With the
pretty
same
okay.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, and I handled it fine.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like the 3rd time, and then a couple of people in the audience were like, "Hey, shut the fuck up."
Everything. Hey, shut up, lady. Yeah.
But it was, but I don't have a ton of experience with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
not a
good.
ton. Which is probably why I'm, you know, it terrifies me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see it being very distracting.
Actually,
do you go with like
but the-
notes? Do you have notes on stage?
No, I don't. I
Oh
don't use
crap!
notes.
No, you
See,
can't
if
do
someone,
that.
But if like someone does that, then you're like, I don't even know where I'm at in my
I mean,
set anymore.
well, that happened with that because I'm like, wait, what?
Where am I?
Where
Yeah.
was I? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm very much by
Yeah.
by
because you
rote.
kind of memorize it in
You know,
certain.
I have it. Yeah, I mean, you know, the sort of the getting the words in the right order, in the right everything
Yeah.
is important to. It's important to my jokes.
Yeah.
to how it rolls.
And so
yeah.
once I get a little hiccup in there, it's like,
You're like,
wait, where was I? What
where am
happened?
I? What part am I at? Yeah.
Yeah. We saw Jerry Seinfeld
Did.
a few years back, and he had note cards.
He did.
Yeah, I've
He
seen
had him on
some
the,
of
he
my
had him
favorite
on the
comics
stool.
do it.
65.
Well, I
but-
know. He had him on the stool, and he would look at
I don't
him,
know how
and then
old he
he'd
is.
come out and talk. But
Yeah.
he would look at note cards.
Yeah.
Where
Which-
am I?
You know, as an
I don't
audience
mind.
member, it didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mike Birbiglia is one of my favorite comics. He does, you know, when he works his shows out, he has note cards and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Neil Brennan, like I said, I mean, it was a new material. I mean, if he did it on a special, I would think that was weird.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
But you know, by the time those guys do a special, I mean, how much I rehearsed my hour, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times, you know, and they've done it, you know, much more than that.
I've
So-
heard. I don't know what I was listening. Who I was listening to. Something they were talking about that somebody did a special, but they actually filmed it like 2 back to back.
I think that's really common.
And so like
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
like it was 2 shows just back to back, and they filmed it and would like splice it together, like however it like
Oh.
went over like.
I think because there's so much
Yeah.
that goes into it, there's such a
Yeah.
production cost that like, hey, having everyone hanging around to do this again tonight costs more, but it doesn't cost as much as if you
Yeah.
didn't get it, you didn't have a good crowd, something went wrong, you forgot a joke,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. It gives you a lot of insurance,
was
and it
like,
gives you a lot of more
wow.
options of
Yeah.
cutting and editing.
So I was
right?
like, oh man, that's okay.
I mean, Chris Rock did that special it's been
Yeah.
a while where he did
Yeah.
like, it was clearly 3 different shows but he cut all the
Yeah,
same
he cut 'em all,
material.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I watched his special on Netflix, the last one, and we went and saw him live here in Reno.
Oh,
He
nice.
did
Yeah,
a couple
yeah, yeah.
years
It was
ago.
exactly the same. It was exactly the same.
Oh, was it? I
was
didn't watch
surprised.
this.
Oh, it was
special.
After the special?
Well,
Or the special was the same as
he
the show?
got the slap, and then 2 shows later
Right.
we saw him in Reno.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that is true.
And he didn't mention anything about the slap.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, he was saving that
Right.
for the
And
check.
Yes.
And
The
then
Netflix check.
when I watched the Netflix
It was a
deal,
lot of the same.
it was exactly
Sure.
the same until the end
Till
of the
the end,
show
yeah.
was the slap stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
He added
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like, they'll do the same set for a year or more.
Which I
you
get.
know?
I mean, that's hard
Yeah.
to change a set.
Yeah. I mean,
Mentally,
it just takes
like,
a
on
long
the
time
comedian,
to get
yeah.
it right.
Yeah, get it right
And I
go
think-
through the
And then
motions.
for
you
you
know.
to deliver it right each time.
And the comics, that put out the great specials work on them for a long time.
I
Yeah.
believe.
That's cool.
A long time. In my opinion.
I
In my
would-
opinion,
yes.
Or you can hear one of our sponsors, and then maybe some of these comics drink a lot of this. Honey, guess what time it is?
Happy hour?
Yep, I made your favorite Juicy Tits Vodka cocktail.
Fantastic. Thanks, babe. Love you.
And I love you. And your Juicy Tits.
Go to juicytitsvodka.com to get your own bottle of Juicy Tits, where life is the party.
It's not as perverted as you think because she gives 10% of her
Right.
her money to breast cancer.
Profits
Okay.
to breast
Yeah.
cancer.
There's
Yeah.
a double.
I have
Yeah.
no problem with it. I have no problem with it.
It's not a bad bottle. She marketed well.
Yeah. Yeah. Honey, what are you going to call your vodka? I got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Right.
She
I
told me
got
the whole
it covered.
story about the whole
Yeah.
thing. She was in college and she used to chew juicy Wrigley's
Juicy fruit gum?
Juicy fruit gum.
Okay.
And then her mom or somebody had got breast cancer or something like that, and then it turned into this thing. And she says, "I'm going to start this Juicy Tits vodka." And she started in college, and she's doing real well now. She's
Great.
kind of a young lady. I don't know how old she is, but we're going to have her on in November.
Yeah,
and then
nice.
again in Key West in January. So should be fun.
It should be.
On that note, Life with Eric podcast is brought to you by Petrola Concrete Construction. See, that's my brother.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Okay.
And we're going to give a shout out to Michael Weems' collection in Palm Canyon Drive in Palm Springs. And Aaron, you can check our
The pill.
The pill art,
out
yes.
here.
We
Yes.
talked about that briefly. It's, I am performing there at the end of September. I will go
Oh,
see
Palm
the show.
Springs?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh.
Palm
We're
We're going to be there October
We're gonna be
10th.
there,
We're just
yeah.
going to
Comedy
miss you.
festival. There's a comedy festival. So
Oh, we're missing it.
It's funny.
By like a week.
I wrote that down on my notes. Palm Springs International Comedy Festival.
Oh, you're doing
I think-
research,
I think
yeah.
I saw that on your Facebook.
it's somewhere on. Yes, I've posted.
That's
it somewhere,
fun.
yeah.
Now that'll be fun.
Have you been to Palm Springs before?
I have been through Palm Springs,
Oh,
but I
it
have
is
never really
fun.
spent time there
It's
yet.
a cool. We
Check
have,
out Michael Weems.
I will.
Actually,
absolutely.
go to
No,
his-
I'm
go to his
fascinated
gallery
to
and
see
tell
his
him you
other
know
stuff.
us.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I will for sure.
Yeah, he'll.
No, that's. I mean, that you. Again, not that I have like years of experience of like touring and being on the road, but you get to a town and you're like, I got a show at 9. I got to work for 12 minutes. What the hell do I do all day?
We got some great
let's
restaurants we can
check
point you
around
to.
town. Oh,
Hey, there's a
please.
couple
Yeah,
really
I'm
good
a food
restaurants
snob
that-
for sure.
Yeah, so that.
Having owned a restaurant, I have strong opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have like a jack of all trades there.
There's a lot of Jack.
Yeah.
a lot of trades there.
all things that seemed like good ideas at the time.
Restauranting doesn't sound like a great idea to me. Sorry. Sounds like a late
that's
night.
probably
Sounds
because
like a lot
you
of
have
late.
probably worked
yeah.
in restaurants.
No, I never have.
Oh, you never have. I never had either, and
It just sounds like a late night. A lot of late nights.
it just never ends.
You have to be there all the time.
No, you have to be there all.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you
how
want
you
to do
gonna
it
do it?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I opened 6 weeks before COVID, so
Oh,
that was the
shit.
whole
Oh,
thing.
Jesus.
You know,
Yeah. That
That's-
doesn't help.
No, that doesn't.
it actually was fantastic, but that's a whole other story. It was pizza. My place was like pizza and tacos, everything made from scratch. My parents were out helping me get open.
Oh
From-
yeah,
from
I
Maine.
know where you're talking. I know the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so it was just me and my parents.
And
And I
you say your
said,
parents are from Maine.
they used to live in Maine. They live here now,
Oh,
but they
near-
were stuck
near-
here for
Love
10
of
months
Maine.
helping me
I
with the
live-
restaurant.
You ever been to Kennebunkport?
Have I been to Kennebunkport? No, they lived outside Camden. I
Oh,
haven't been
okay.
to Kennebunkport. I might
Yeah,
have been
we
through there, but
went
yeah.
to Kennebunkport
It's
a
like
few years
south
ago.
of
Maine.
Portland.
Yeah,
we
that's
love
the
Maine. It was
fancy. That's like
great.
the Bushes have
Yes,
the place
the
up there. Yeah,
one-
yeah, sure.
We
yeah.
stayed right near there. Yeah, it was,
Okay.
it was really cool.
Nice.
We had a really
Maine's
good time
beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
there. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
How dare
Change
you?
the-
How dare you on your
Right.
podcast with your name on it?
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
believe the
Hey,
audacity.
Before we start wrapping this thing up, let's listen to one more clip
what
since
is
I
it?
have
Oh,
one
all right.
clip here.
I can't remember the other one.
You comment on this if you want. This time I'm going to turn it
the
up.
button?
You're gonna
I'm
nail
going
it.
to turn the volume
I
button
believe
up.
in you.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Aaron, and real quick, I just want to share something personal with you guys. I have some really good news about my kids, which is that I don't have any. Very exciting. Hey, man, if we all stopped having kids, the human race would die out. Okay. I mean, things aren't really going that well, are they?
Yeah, you really want to have a new kid in this day and age? I shouldn't say that. We're gonna have.
We're not having.
Yeah,
one.
we're not having one. No, we're not.
No,
having one.
you've got grown kids. You did your part. No, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was younger, I used to think I always thought I would get married and have kids, and I think I don't know.
Reality set in?
Reality.
Have you ever been married?
I have never been married.
Oh,
no.
okay. So you've never been divorced?
I've never
Right.
exactly.
I wish I would have done that.
Well, I mean, these are things. There's
Wow, honey.
these things that like used to be, I think, pluses as like in the dating world of like if you're 28, no kids, never been married. Like I think that's a plus. If you're 52 and no kids and never been married, I think that starts to become a red flag. Like what's going on?
What's
over
wrong
there?
with this guy?
Yeah.
What's
He's never.
Why?
And,
What's in your
that's
freezer?
That's a lot. Well, the freezer.
What's in your freezer?
I mean, it's more like what's in my brain is really the real problem that I run into. But yeah, I mean, I have some regrets and
You shouldn't have regrets.
Don't have regrets. Just
Don't
put it in
have
your comedy show.
I try, but you gotta uplift people a little bit. I do feel like now trying to find 52, trying to find this sort of like long-term healthy life partner at this point is a little bit like trying to buy the perfect Christmas tree on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a little late.
I mean,
No, I don't think so.
most likely you'll find a girl that's been married and probably
She
has a
might
couple
have some
grown
kids.
kids.
Yeah. She might
I mean,
have
I'm
some
sure you run
kids.
into that a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Which just I have I'm not opposed to dating that and whatnot, but I'm also just
Well, now that you're on this show, they're gonna be lining up.
Oh, yeah.
All we have is like housewives and shit like
We
that.
do have
so,
a
yeah.
I mean, look,
large
that's-
female listening
we
population.
only
is-
pretty much have females that listen to us. So.
I mean, I used to host a show on HGTV. Middle-aged women, that's my demographic.
That's your deal.
Perfect.
That's your-
I'm a
that's your
lot
jam.
like women in their 40s. I are to me what high school girls are to Matthew McConaughey and Dazed and Confused. Right?
Yeah,
Like
right,
I
yeah,
keep
yeah.
getting older, they say the same middle age. It's
Right,
great.
right,
Like, that's always been my thing. So I don't know.
Well, if you like this podcast out there and you want to hear more of Aaron, share us with a friend. Copy this link and go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share this episode with a friend. We would love it. Aaron would love it. And you can go see his comedy show. You want to pip anything out on where you're gonna
Where
be
can we
whatnot?
find you, Aaron?
Where
What
can
are
we
your
find you?
handles?
Yeah, you can find me aaronfoster.com. You can find all my dates and information and my artwork and all that stuff. And I do have a show in Reno tonight. I think you said this drops on Wednesday.
It does, yep.
Tonight at the Bruca Theater on Friday, and then Thursday night, tomorrow night at the Tahoe Wine Collective out in Tahoe City.
Cool. Maybe we'll
Show up,
maybe we'll come
peeps.
heckle you on Friday.
Heckle you.
Sure.
Aaron could never heckle anybody.
No, I would never do that to you.
Well, heckled by someone I know, at least I have some context of.
Yeah.
Ooh,
at
there
least,
you
yeah.
go. Actually,
Hey,
I'll
buddy.
push him to heckle you.
Which again, just to not to, you're wrapping up, but the woman who heckled me at my show, when we went on like one date,
Oh,
like
geez.
15 years before, and I was like, is this revenge? Like, what is
maybe.
happening? But
Yeah.
she split right after the show, so I didn't get to talk to her. I
Oh,
have
it
no
might
idea.
have been
I
a
have no
little
idea.
Yeah,
revenge.
I'm gonna
very
get this
odd.
dickhead on stage.
I was like,
You ghosted her.
it wasn't.
I don't know if you
It was terrible on both sides. We were
Right.
both
Yeah.
terrible. Like I didn't do anything. Anyway, it's very odd. It was very odd. But
So did you recognize her when she was heckling you?
I recognized her right before the show. This is
Right.
like Fringe is very much like you have 15 minutes to get in and out because there's
Yeah.
another show.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I was like setting up tickets, and I have a friend running that, and then
Yeah.
she shows up right before I go in to kind of get my 5 minutes to myself before
Yeah.
we start. She's like, I'm like, oh my god, great, thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
And then 7
then
minutes
she's-
into the
She's
show,
like, let me tell you.
Throwing shit at you.
like this is not a interactive,
You could have just
thing,
texted me for coffee.
but- right? Well, apparently she doesn't text. I don't know. That was her whole.
Right.
That was her whole thing.
Maybe
So,
you get lucky and she'll call you.
Ooh.
maybe.
Well, Aaron, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much for
has
having
been.
me.
Great.
This has
Our
been
very
fun.
first comedian on here has been so
Yes.
great.
Oh, you're
It's a lot of
excited.
fun. I love the clips. I love it. I love it all. When you're in Palm Springs, go see
Yeah.
Michael Weems.
Absolutely.
Get yourself, check out
Get
some
yourself a pill.
Some pill. Get some coasters.
I've got some pills, as you might have figured, but you can never have too many.
Right.
Anyway, dear, it's that time. Last call. Who are we gonna cheers today? This is easy.
Right.
We do
We're
this
gonna
every
cheer.
week.
Yes, we're gonna cheers, Aaron. Thanks
Yep.
for being our guest.
Yep. Thanks for
We
being our
appreciate
guest.
it.
Yeah,
Thanks
maybe
for
you'll
having
come.
Hope you
Yeah.
had fun.
Yeah. Did you have fun?
I did have fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great.
I had a lot of fun. I love this stuff.
No, two people. That's about my limit. Interacting with two other humans at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't do a whole lot.
right.
I just kind of am in the background. I like
I
throw
literally
little
was
steps
like,
out.
I hope there's not like a sound producer. It's going to be too many for me.
Oh yeah. Well, we do all this stuff and we kind of ship it out and get it tuned up and everything.
That's what we
like
have
that.
Nora. She's like
Yeah.
a therapy dog.
Yes.
No,
She's
she's
eating your
great.
wallet
Yes.
out there,
That's
but
fine.
I mean,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
She ate all the money and the wallet's coming
Right.
back.
Yeah.
That's right. There's not that much money, so don't worry about it.
Subscribe or follow us on wherever you get your podcast or go to our website at lifewitheric.com.
And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and a closer look into My Life with Eric. To all of our listeners out there, remember, it's always happy hour here.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Love you, baby.
Love you.
Thanks, Aaron. That was great.
Thanks.
I love you also.